It's the fallout over the prolonged strike at Sibanye Stillwater. The mining giant has halted operations at its gold mines as the strike continues. Now, Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe hinted last week that he could cancel the mining rights if the company is no longer engaged in gold mining activities. It rattled investors, needless to say. And I want to bring in a mining analyst, Peter Major, just to sort of give us some thoughts on what the context of this was all about. Peter, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. I mean, presumably you would have taken these remarks we heard last week with a pinch of salt, because this mining minister, historically has been friendly compared to what we've seen previously to the fraternity. How did this go down?
Okay, are you able to hear me okay?
Go ahead, Peter, we can.
Okay, everything you say, I believe, is 100% correct, Devan. Gwede Mantashe knows more about mining than any of the ministers we've got, probably more than all of them put together. And that includes our president, who he and Cyril Ramaphosa really put NUM together and led it through its formative years and through its big strike in 1987. So no one knows mining better than Gwede Mantashe in the government today. And he does have a well-known sense of humor. He needs it for the things he's done, the things he's said, things he's caused, and all the parties he deals with. I wish I would have been there when he said that. Was it one journalist or a TV presenter with a mic under him? Or was he drinking at the time? Was he under pressure? Maybe it was a very populist statement, depending who his audience was. The environment and context of that statement really needs to be defined. But even more important, we had a brash statement like that by one of our previous ministers probably 10 years ago, and it caused a big uproar internationally because it's the first sign that we could have dictatorial actions by a mining minister. And we know that the act scares people because it leaves so much discretion to the minister. So Minister Gwede Mantashe, there's so much he could do to help bridge the gap between the unions and Sibanye, especially their gold mines. And why would he pull their license, even if they were doing something illegal? And they're not. It's a legal strike, and we thought they were so close to settling anyways. And who else would take this? Neil Fronneman and Sibanye, they're the only people willing to try and run these difficult, old, expensive, loss-making mines. So it's a crazy statement, and it doesn't do any good anywhere, especially internationally, but not even locally.
Let's talk about the Section 47 of the Minerals, Petroleum Resources and Development Act. Look, when he mentioned that, we all went to this law and said, what does it actually tell us? Presumably, there are no parameters to allow a mining minister of any kind to actually intervene with withdrawing a license. How do you understand that portion of the law?
Well, I think if you read it quite closely, they could, under certain circumstances, justify intervening, but never under an operating mine like we've seen now. If it's somebody who has had a mining license, who's retrenched everybody, and they're sitting on this asset for many, many years, with the indication that they're just trying to flip it or make a profit and get out of it, then I think he could mount a legal case that would have a 50-50 chance of succeeding. But for him to try and launch anything legal now, I doubt anybody would pick it up. I doubt the courts would even agree to listen to it. Geez, how many times have we had miners going on strike with the company? It's part of our history for 150 years. As long as you've had mining here, you've got mining companies and labor going on strike, trying to settle differences. And especially now, Gwede shouldn't be making this statement now because it is marginal. All these big gold mines, historically old, deep, rich mines, they need huge capex. It takes huge management time. It's high risk. They're so deep. It's just... There's no way he could use anything in that MPRDA to even start taking this away from Sibanye, and who would he give it to other than Zama-Zamas?
Peter, can I just come in there before I let you go and ask you one more question?
Yeah.
Is this strike, undoubtedly, it doesn't bode well for sentiment on the mining side, but can we recover on that sentiment? Has it hurt sentiment quite badly? It seems quite protracted, by the way.
It does. And I thought this is an excellent opportunity for our mining minister to intervene and say to both sides, can I help bridge the gap? And the gap is so small, it wouldn't take much. And he does have discretion. So I think he should be using the discretion to show the mining companies he wants to promote mining in South Africa. He should use that discretion to bring the two sides together, to go to the union and say, I helped form you. I'm always looking after your interests, and your interests are to keep these mines running so you have a job and maybe your kids have a job. And he goes to the mining companies and he could say, how can I help bridge the gap? Can I help you out on, is it your royalty, your capex, your taxation, you know, some areas you'd like to incorporate that are tied up? You know, he's got so many powers that he could help both sides resolve this instead of making brash statements like that and make 1 or 2 people in an audience of radicals happy.
Peter Major, mining analyst there. Thanks very much indeed for those insights.